G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and about 18 months ago I planted some Taro and Arrow Head seedlings in this raised bog garden bed. Over the past year and a half it seemed to have grown pretty well. So in this video I'm going to harvest these crops and we're going to see if we can get a decent feed out of our raised bog garden bed. Let's get into it. Before we do get into it, for those of you who might not have seen my initial video on how to set this up, or if you can't remember, let me just give a quick recap on how I did set this up. This used to be an old raised duck pond so that our ducks could have somewhere to swim. That was before we got our dam, and then the ducks could go into that, so it made this redundant. It's all academic now because we don't have any more ducks. But I came up with this idea of possibly growing taro and arrowhead in it because they are bog or water plants. Even though we're in dappled shade of gum trees, I felt like it was worth a go to see if we could grow something edible down here. I emptied the pond out. I left a lot of the sludge in the bottom that had duck poop for extra fertilizer, and then I filled the bed up with some scoria or volcanic rock. Nice and light, easy for roots to get down in, and hopefully easy for these bog plants to grow in. On top of that scoria, I put some good quality garden soil, and I knew that that would eventually seep into the rocks. Being a stagnant water bed, which is dangerous in itself due to the lack of oxygen, I thought that those light volcanic rocks mixed with the soil would be able to give enough oxygen so that the plants could grow well. Over this last 18 months, the plants grew surprisingly good, and I wasn't the only one that was impressed. Unfortunately, the ducks at the time and the chickens decided to use it as an open fodder. Before long, they were destroying all the new shoots and even the established leaves. So what I had to do was fence it off, and fencing off like this, well, it helped. I never added any extra fertilizer to it over that period. All I did was keep the water topped up, and because we've had such a rainy, wet 18 months anyway, I didn't even really have to do that very often. I planted the seedlings towards the end of our summer in 2021, and they grew okay into winter when they died back because these plants don't like the cold very much. And then, of course, they shot back up in spring. Now we've been through our winter and it's been a fairly cold one. We're into spring about a month, and to be honest, I probably should have started harvesting this a good month ago before they started resprouting. But anyway, better late than never. So I'm going to start harvesting both the taro and the arrowhead, and we'll see what we can get out of it. And then I'm going to replant some of the shoots and that back in so we can regrow. Wish me luck. Hopefully we get a really good harvest out of it and we can cook it up. Okay, I had to do quite a bit of washing and getting rid of all that scoria and dirt, and this is what I've come up with. The biggest so far, it's about, well, it's like a hand grenade actually. So let's say baseball, maybe small cricket ball. I mean, it looks pretty good, but it's not huge. I'm sure it'll be a nice feed though. Smells nice. Well, anyway, let's keep going and see how much we can get. There's plenty of small ones, like these here that would re-sprout, these little shoots here. But let's see if we can get a decent feed of larger ones. I know taro gets a heck of a lot bigger than this, but if I get half a dozen of these, I'll be happy. Alright, so that's the taro done. It's not a huge harvest, but there are some green shoots. So about half a dozen here, you can see that. This will be a good feed for the family of 4. It looks good, it's healthy, but they're not huge, and I think I know why, but we'll wrap that up later. The good thing about it is all these plants, there must be at least 30 small taro plants and shoots that I can replant. I'm not going to replant them all in there, I can tell you that, but I will have a crack at putting them back up into the garden and not growing them in a bog, just growing them into a nice rich garden bed and see how they go, spread them right out. Anyway, let's get on to the arrowhead and see how we go. The chickens are enjoying themselves, by the way. It's not really hard to pull up, to be honest. It's very easy. It's not as matted as the taro, but the tubers, they're supposed to be bigger. See, they're about the size of a quail egg. They're kind of egg type shape, they're white. It'd be interesting to see what they taste like, but the harvest that I'm getting isn't very huge at all. Quite hard, like a nut. Anyway, I'll keep collecting as many as I can out of here and then we'll assess it. I'm not going to keep any of the really small ones. It's really going by feel. It says arrowhead or duck plant. Well, I haven't had this much fun playing in the mud since I was about 5. But I'd have to say the harvest of the arrowhead was a little bit disappointing. Although, check that out. That'd be a nice sort of like, you know, medium mushroom size sort of taste. You boil these up apparently, or you can cut them up and stir fry them maybe, but I'm going to boil them and we'll eat them like a small mini potato and we'll see what they're like. A little bit of maybe, I don't know, sesame oil or olive oil or some butter, that might go well with them. Same with the taro, we're going to boil them up like a potato as well and try them and see how they go. Oh hey, it's me in the future. And I just wanted to interrupt the flow of this video to let you know we had the taro, we made a nice curry dish out of it, and we really enjoyed it. We cooked up the arrowhead also, and it wasn't too bad. It's just that I'm not sure if it's worth growing. I mean, taro tastes, I think, better, and it's bigger too, so you get more bang for your buck. And I think growing arrowhead would just be a kind of waste of space, even though it's a nice looking plant. But you might say otherwise. Anyway, we want to grow more taro, so I'm planting it out here. I believe you can plant it, well, I'm going to try to plant it from the tubers, as well as the sprouting tubers, the smaller ones, and also the stems that have been cut off. The tuber's been removed, and I've seen online people just planting the stems in and that rerouting and growing more. So I'm going to test that out and experiment with that as well. Of course, I'm planting it into the regular garden, so I'm going to have to keep the moisture up, because what I've learned is taro likes a lot of moisture. It grows in a bog. So the last thing I want to do is let this thing dry out, suffer. So I'm going to keep the water up to it, but the bottom line is we really do like taro. It's a great substitute for potato, and the thing about normal potatoes is when we hit our subtropical summer here, you just can't grow it. It's too hot. But taro, you can. So there's your crossover. There's your starchy carbohydrate food that you can grow through the subtropical summer when potatoes can't grow. So we're going to exploit how well taro grows through the heat and get growing more of it. Although the harvest could have been lots better, because this particular variety is a Chinese taro, it can grow quite large. And also I'm sure the arrowhead, off memory I can't remember how big they're supposed to be, but I believe it's about the size of a chicken egg. Although I could do a lot better, I understand now that I probably shouldn't have overpopulated the bed. Having said that, these crops do like full sun. It was in stagnant water, probably not a lot of fertilizer either, because I just left mainly the duck manure. So all in all, it really grew very well. Plus all those plants that I've got out of it is going to help me grow more and more. But I've proved something to myself, that you can indeed grow arrowhead and taro in a tub like this, or a stagnant bog style raised bed, without any trouble at all, and it will grow well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to even up the bed. I'm going to make sure the soil and the volcanic rock is evenly distributed around the raised bed. Then I'm going to add in a little bit of normal organic fertilizer, and then I'm going to replant about 3 of those taro plants, and I'm not going to put any more of that arrowhead back in, because I know from all the small little floaty arrowhead bulbs, it's just going to come back up. It seems like arrowhead is a really hardy aquatic type plant. I don't reckon I'm going to have any trouble with it resprouting this summer and growing heaps more. Hopefully it won't overcrowd the taro that I put in there. Overall, I'm really happy with this experiment, and I'm glad that I've done it. It made use of that pond. Who knows what else can come out of it. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big Taro and Arrow thumbs up. Share the video around, because that helps my channel out heaps. And subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now. Cheers. Yeah. I'm quietly happy with this minimal harvest. I've learnt heaps. Cool.